Right, so we're happy with our model now, and we've put the detail in we wanted. And what I would say is it might be worth you going through the claws and maybe putting a little bit detail on them. I'm going to leave them as they are because I'm going to have them smooth on this particular model, but you might want to put some detail on that, which is fine. You can do that. So we've got our skin in there like that, but what I want to do is I want to slightly push up the skin. I want to curve the back of the skin a little bit, so I can easily do that. I'm going to go into the geometry, I'm going to press the Alt key and I'm going to click on this tool to select this subtool. It's a quicker way of rather than going here and selecting the body there and stuff, you can press the Alt key with the brush selected and you just click once on there and it will make that the active tool, which saves a bit of time. Now I want to bend this up. Now I don't want to bend it up with this high resolution selected, so what I want to do is I want to go to the geometry and bring this down to level 1. Now I'm going to use the masking, so I'm going to hold the Control key and I'm just going to select the drag and I'm going to drag across this. Actually I'll drag across, let me just deselect again, let me drag across from about, well, hold on, what am I doing? Deselect by dragging and select there, and I'm just going to click once in here to make it a bit softer, this mask. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into perspective mode here, and I'm just going to use the rotate here to rotate about here. So I'm dragging that out. Remember, that's the point that the rotation will start from, and then I can start to kind of move this up. Okay, that looks good to me. Now I want to add another bit of mask along here and soften that up. Then I'm going to go back into the same angle. It doesn't matter whether I'm up and down. I'm going to reset the point of origin there, and I'm going to rotate this up. So I'm getting this kind of curved back, because this will help me when I'm framing my shot. I'll have that curved back, and it'll help. So I'm going to do exactly the same again. I'm going to select there, click once to soften it. I'm going to go back to this side and I'm going to click about here and I'm going to rotate this up. So it gives me a nice sort of curve. Now I can take my subdivision level and bring it straight back to what it was before and go back into draw mode. So now I can get rid of the mask, pressing the Control key and just dragging. And now what I've got is I've got this nice background, so when I zoom in on the model, that's going to take up some of that backdrop there. Now like I said, I'm not too worried about the detail that I've got on this background mask, and if I want to I could Z remesh it to try and get a bit more detail in there, or I could Dynamesh it. Let me just have a little look. I'm going to use the standard brush here and I'm going to import the alphas that we had in our folder, which is the micro brush inside of alphas. I'm going to drag across all of these and open them up. Then I'm going to go into the drag rectangle and select something like this alien skin. I'm just going to, it's a bit too strong, that. Control Z to go back one. And I'm just going to turn the intensity down to about 6. Actually it needs to be a little bit higher, probably about 12. Okay, you can see I can start to add a bit more detail, and we might refine this and add more detail on the final shot. We're not going to need to, because we're not going to need all of this this canvas here. So what I'm doing now is I'm just dragging on the surface to create a bit more detail. Sorry, it's going a bit bonkers because my I'm using my mouse. My keyboard I think is running out of battery juice. So that's a problem. and I might actually turn this on to spray, so I can actually spray this texture on as well. I'm going to turn the draw size up a bit here, and I'm just going to use a spray to begin to add this texture in. I'm going to increase this a bit as well. Okay. Okay, make the brush bigger there. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Just a bit more kind of high-res detail. Okay, so when you're set with the detail that you want, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to use Transpose Master to put this into the correct poses. So Transpose Master will basically take all of our scene, it will make it one subtool, and it will reduce it down to the lowest subdivision levels. Once you've posed your character, you can then do a T pose again, and it will actually separate it all out. It's actually easier for me just to show you. You should have this with your version of Zbrush. So if you haven't got it, go to Pixelogic's website and download the Z plugin for your particular version of Zbrush. So I'm going to go down to Transpose Master, which is here, and I'm going to create a T-pose mesh. Okay, so I'm going to click once. It will go through the subtools. It will basically take them all down to their lowest subdivision level, and then it will tell you when it's finished. Now if you look over here, you can see that it's only one level now. Now what that means is that you can use, you can actually select parts of this and move them around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the plane at the moment. I'm going to press the Control and the Shift key, and I'm going to click once on the plane. This will get rid of everything apart from the plane. So I want to bring back everything apart from the plane. So if I click once off, click again. If I drag once off, it will bring these up. So now what I can do is I can then press the Control, Shift and the Alt key, and it will get rid of that. Yeah. So now it's left me with this, and this means that I can now take this model and I can start to move it around. So I'm going to start to get it into approximately the right position. I'm going to use the move key now and select it. And now because I want all my subtools brought back, I'm going to use a bit of masking. So I'm going to press the Control key and I'm going to drag across this creature so it's masked. Then I'm going to press the Control and Shift key and I'm going to click once. It'll bring everything back. And now because I still want to move the creature, but I don't want to move anything else, I'm going to just press the Control key and I'm going to click once to inverse the selection. Now it means that I've got my scene there, but I can move this guy around. So I'm going to move him around a bit more, and I'm going to move him up. Oh, I'm scaling there. I've got to be careful there that you don't use the wrong tool. So I'm going to move him up. Now what I want to do is I want to move the actual cell. So what I can do is I can press the Control key, I can drag it to unselect everything, then I can press the Control Shift and I can select this, and it will just mask this one out. Okay, if you have trouble with this, if you click off like that, all you need to do is press Control Shift and click on this one, and it will mask everything out apart from the cell. So now with this cell, I can start to kind of manipulate it around a little bit. I'm going to tilt it at an angle, so it's going to be good, because when we're viewing this, we're going to be viewing it roughly like this. So I actually want this tilted quite a lot so that you can still see the creature, and the blood cell is kind of secondary to that. So I'm just jumping around my positions now and just trying to change certain things around. So I'm going to lower that down, pressing W on the key to get the move tool, selecting the middle part, and I'm going to move this approximately into the position it should be, which is going to be roughly about there. Okay, so he's kind of in the claws. Okay, that looks good to me. He's going to be twisted slightly towards us, or his head is, and we can do that later. what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press the Control and Shift, and I'm going to click this, then so that's selected, and then I'm going to press the Control and Shift and click once here to inverse the selection. Yeah. Now I'm going to get in here and I'm going to use the Move tool again to move all of this around, and I might even scale it all as well. So I'm going to scale it all down. Yeah. Scale it all down just to get a bit more. Okay, that's good. And what will happen is this creature sort of embeds its little claws into the actual skin here. That's how it secures itself, and then when these cells pass by, it grabs them and it eats them. Okay, so that's the theory. So I'm going to embed it even more in there so those claws are really into that surface. I can twist them around later. So that's my preliminary scene set up. It will be, when we're viewing it, it will be something like this. I might actually rotate this slightly as well. So I'm going to take it from here and I'm going to use the rotation key. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit this way. And I'm going to use the move, and I'm just going to move it to the edge here. Yeah, so that's not too bad. A little bit more into shot, so a little bit more here is going to be better because I don't want to show any of that ground plane. That's not bad, but I've got a little bit of this going up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the actual canvas a little bit here. So let's use the Control Shift and click once on here. And let's just select a point about here and do a rotation on this point to move the backdrop around. That's going to be better. So now I can see that when I zoom in here, you're going to just see the creature, and we'll still have some backdrop there. So once you're finished posing, what we can do then is press the Control key just to cancel the mask, go back into draw mode. And then what we can do to put this into effect is go to plugins, and we'll go to T-Pose to subtools, and then I just let that do the job, and it will move all my subtools and it will separate them back out and put them back into high res. You'll see over here, there we go, it's going through them now. So it will just split all these up and it will put them into the correct order, as you can see. So it's spinning things around, the claws will go back in, yep, and there we go. And it took 13 seconds. So really quick to T-pose this. So in the next lesson, what we'll do is I'm going to save this as now. This will be our posed version. So remember, we've always got our flat version in case we want to animate it and those sort of things later. We've still got that. So I'm going to press 7 here, and I'm going to call this micro, and at this stage I'm going to call it pose. And then I'm going to call it 01 because this is the first part of posing our creature, and I'm going to click save. Alright, so now we're set up for this. We'll then go in and do some other work. So what I want to do next is I want to pose the creature, and I want to take some chunks out of the actual blood cell because it's eating it. And we'll also duplicate this blood cell to put more of them in the background. So we'll do that in the next lesson.